G'day traders, we're going to wrap up on Wednesday the 13th of June. So we're just looking at this little red candle here. So interesting day. When we open up today, the last few days there's definitely been some buyer pressure. We had some good buyers today again, but the sellers really finished off strong. But starting off when the day went up, and I'll show you in a second, it looked like if the buyers really want to get a continuation, because it jumped up to its gap really quite quickly, and I thought up around 13.30 if we want to get up there and test that area. It's a day that potentially the buyers could really have a crack, either bounce off it or get through it, really, continue on. But until we get to that area, really expect both sides of the market to come in and have a go, and that's what happened today. So just to go through the 5-minute chart and just have a little bit of a look at between the buyers and the sellers and the relationship between them. Start off with, we bounced between areas. The Nasdaq took off on the upside, but that's where we got this little bit of a spike here. But all the other markets didn't really want to follow, and they're all holding the downside a little bit more. Then eventually, they all kind of swung around and started pushing down. So it looked like they're going to have a bit of a go on the downside here. But even that area there, they didn't really go on with it. Turned around, and then all the markets kind of together started breaking up and going through this area, and it was the gap that was up around 13.20 area, and that's became quite evident that we're going to really push up and get going, and at some stage get to the gap quite quickly. You can see the markets came back here at some stage, so looking for sort of predicted to cross back and get maybe some sort of 5-minute fade, because this upside had a lot of potential until it got to the gap, and then even up to 13.30 was definitely a sort of possibility. In the end, obviously hasn't got that high. It's pretty much stalled at the gap. So we got to the gap, we've come back, we started holding those gap levels, and then we came back, pushed back to the upside, came back again. So I got a 5-minute buy here, so not a bad area. The only thing about this area which I didn't like is the fact that the stop was within this little bit of range here, and the market could pop down and get a bounce. In the end, it's pushed through, but overall, these buyers were as strong as I was showing. I thought it was definitely potentially an area where it could jump back up and go to the highs, which eventually it has done. But for a moment there, it's broken down and broken through this bit of a level here. So the fact that it's broken down here, quite often they can start to go on with it. So that was, I guess, the start of something saying that the sellers were around and having a bit of a go. The fact they got through that level, they did pop up and go back to those highs and bounce those highs here. But even around here, when they did come back to the highs, it was with less power this time. You look at all the other markets; none of them were pushing through any levels. There was no evidence there that they were going to go higher. And then eventually we've got this push down here, and then away they went. Something through here, power failure or something on the downside. We'll have a look on the 1-minute chart. But what you want to see is this push like this, but then get a bit of a, the market's bounce and then go again, get that confirmation. It actually went quite quickly without sort of much notice. But the sellers were building. They were building pressure all through this middle section here, and then eventually they've just gone on with it and only a small bounce towards the end of the day. So looking at the 1-minute chart, here's this couple of power points where it struggled between, so it tried to push up, didn't do that, came down, looked like for a while there it was going to push down lower again. It turned around, came to this power point here. Definitely a real decision area in the market. I remember looking at the time and all the other markets kind of sitting right here, and it's either going to bounce, push lower again and maybe start pushing down, or if we want to push through it, we're going to break up through these highs, and away they went. That was the case. Off they went on the upside. We didn't quite get a pullback power point here, but one round here would be certainly have some value. Once you see it break and all the other markets break this area here and get some momentum upside, it's quite likely it's going to just continue, and here's just a pullback to basically the top of the range, and off it went again. So any sort of pullback area in here I reckon had a lot of value. We got up to the gap and basically just pushed through the gap, and that's where the markets turned around. So this purple here, in line with the daily charts, I guess it's more of a seller's market. So that's where we are at the moment. So you can look at it two ways. The fact is that it's a 10-point trend. The buyers are strong for it to bounce, or you can say the longer term markets is we've got some seller pressure in, and it's an area that could push through. It's really a matter of individual traders deciding how they want to approach this market. That's why there's no particular area that's right or wrong, and that's why for every area there's a buyer and a seller. So it's just a matter of being very clear on what defines your area that you're looking for. So an area that could have potentially went both ways. This is where it's popped up and then gone lower. So the fact that it's gone lower here, I thought this is the start of the evidence saying that maybe there's some sellers around, and I expected maybe when it popped up here to then push back down and bounce off this power point and head to the downside again. Wasn't really expecting to come back up and go for the highs, which is what it did. Came back and went again, but like I said, all the other markets were not having a go and not looking like to push through. So when this market starts breaking down like this, some sort of push, bounce, and then power fade or push to the downside trade has certainly got some value, but never really got that. You can see this downtrend, just through PowerPoint after PowerPoint and never got any sort of bounce. So an opportunity like that where it's definitely the sell side was coming, but it just came with just a little bit too much aggression and not a lot of opportunities to get on. So that's a wrap up for Wednesday, and I'll speak to you guys on Thursday.